Survivor Specialist Phil and Will are back. Episode 11 or 12, whatever you want to call it, is officially over. Zeke is gone. Kind of surprisingly, not too surprisingly. But we lose Zeke at Final 9. We got 8 people left. Really fun episode again. I know Will is overhyping it right now, saying it was the best of, it was better than last week. I don't agree with that at all. We'll let Will explain himself. But I know there's going to be so much to talk about with Adam's idol, with this family visit, with Adam clearly not telling anybody that his mother died. And on top of all of that, remember when everybody said Jay couldn't win? Go ahead, Will. You can talk.
Well, I would just love to hear it. We were told so many times that when he put out Michaela, he had no chance to win. And yet again, we are sitting here. We are now headed into Final 8, and he still has his idol. So if that move killed his game, then I just don't understand that argument at all. No matter what he's going into threat with, or going into the merge with not that many numbers, and he is still a threat. He's going to be a threat no matter what he does. Look at the guy. Look at the way he talks. He's a smart kid. He's athletic. That person is always a threat no matter what they do. The fact that he's at Final 8 with an idol is just it literally means that anybody on Michaela did not crush his game. And it crushed a lot of fans' hearts, and that's why they jumped on us for defending it and jumped on Jay for making that move. But let's be real here. Jay has an incredible chance to win this game. It's probably between him and David. I think Hannah's edit probably fell a little bit tonight. Ken is out. He's done. No chance at all for Ken. I love this episode. It was my favorite of the season. It might be because Adam was a fan of ours, and I identify with Adam so much, and he kicked ass tonight. Jay had an amazing episode tonight as well. So all around, the family visit was so good. The idol play, the before trial with Ken and Will getting into it, that was amazing. Everything I loved about this episode, I do think it was better than last week. I don't think just because you go to Rocks, it means it's the best episode ever. I just loved Zeke versus David last week. I thought Zeke versus David was so phenomenal. You cared so much about both of those characters, and then you'd go to Rocks with characters that you seriously care about the entire time. You're sitting there with Adam and David going to Rocks, and Zeke's sitting there completely safe, and Hannah's sitting there completely safe, and Ken just lucks out and is completely safe. Last week, I still think was a better episode overall. I liked the story more. I thought it was a lot of fun. But I thought tonight's was great. I think this season, I don't understand why there was any dislike for this season in the first place, and now I just really cannot fathom. I cannot fathom how, as a Survivor fan, you could sit here and actually say this season isn't good, because we're getting great characters. We're getting so much raw emotion. And I said to Will before this podcast started that this was too sappy. But he brought up a good point. This isn't fake sappiness. This is real. These are real people emotionally breaking down. And it's just making for great. This is such an old school feel with new school players, and it's just phenomenal. Yeah, I thought the sappiness was on par tonight. Usually I kind of roll my eyes at the loved one visits a little bit, mostly in defense of myself, not getting too sad and emotional, just so I don't cry. But this time I was all on board. Adam breaking down it's incredible because Adam knows he hasn't told anybody else on that tribe about what's going on with his mom and everything like that. So because we know that, and it's we're like, Adam, I'm always begging him, tell them, man. When Jay was picking Adam, just be like, yo, my mom has cancer. Please let me see my loved one, please. But of course you can't, because this is a game for $1 million. And if you do that, you are going to get voted off because you're going to win the sympathy vote. There's so much going on here. And the fact that Jay did end up picking Adam, and like you said, they've been brawling the whole game. It might be because Jay and Adam are my two favorite characters on the season, and they were so not only centered so heavily, but just both did so well. I think this is why it was my favorite episode. Honestly, my favorite episode in a long time of this show. It really was an amazing hour of television.
And I think this whole thing with Adam, I'm really surprised he has not mentioned to anybody about his mother. And even when he's saying to Jay, him and his brother are going over there to talk to Jay, and you literally don't understand how much this meant. And Jay's probably no, I get it. That's great. Jay's probably watching that back going, holy crap. And I'm sure Adam has told him since then, but I know that Jay is sitting there going, wow, I really had no idea what I was actually doing for this kid. I had no idea.
Yeah, imagine if you're Jay and you don't pick Adam, and then you're watching this whole season oh my God. Yeah. I didn't do it. And this is why I think Jay's chances of winning just keep going up. They've built up the Adam and Jay feud. the only time those 2 episodes that we saw Adam being portrayed so negatively, that was in contrast to Jay. He was going against Jay. Who was calling him an asshole? Who was calling him cocky? Who was calling him arrogant? That was Jay. That was the only time Adam has been painted negative this entire season. So it would make sense for Jay to win, as they just settled their differences with this reward. And then Adam gives Jay the advantage in the game, the reward steal. I mean, it honestly couldn't be written any better. It's like this thing was scripted. Obviously, it isn't, because Survivor, it's a reality show. But
don't start getting the people jumping down our throats. One thing I want to jump to right now before we get into the rest of this episode, which we're going to break down. But one thing I want to jump to right now, and I know a lot of people gave Adam a hard time last week for saying Ken. And I know a lot of people did that. But you got to think, if you're Adam, he knows it's not him and he knows it's not David. And David goes and plays it for himself. Obviously, he's got to say somebody, and the only name he heard is Ken. You cannot, and I'm going to defend the hell out of his idol play tonight. Do I think he should have saved it for himself in the long run? In retrospect, yes, he should have in retrospect. But he's sitting there, and there is not going to be a tighter group of 4 than Ken, Dave, Hannah, and Adam. They are such a tight group of 4, and I know Hannah has seemed somewhat wishy-washy. But last week, she sealed her fate, and there's no way David, Ken, or Adam are flipping on each other, because David has already flipped on everybody else that he could align with. He needs Ken. He just lost Jessica. Adam's kind of filling in there. And then you have Hannah. That 4 right now is so solid going up against this other 4 that the only thing I'm scared of is that they completely forget that, and Jay plays his idol the correct way, and then Adam or one of them go, and then they're screwed. But I really think that if that 4 gets the numbers and it's 4-3, those are your final 4.
Yeah, I mean, I think with Adam, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. If you play this idol for Hannah and you save her, you make it to the next vote, and Hannah's there, you have an extra alliance member, but you don't have your idol anymore to protect yourself. That's a real bummer. Like you said, Jay still has his idol. He can play that whenever. And then if you save it for yourself, that's great. You can, if you don't get immunity again, which he likely won't. I mean, he won immunity tonight, but he's not like the strongest challenge competitor. Then you got to start thinking maybe you're a threat, because he did win immunity. He did have that whole advantage thing, saying, I'm not going to play this for you, giving it to Jay. Like, that even puts a target on your back. So he's getting these targets that he really has been developing over to this 1 hour that we saw. So people aren't going to vote for him. He's going to have to play his idol. Then what? You're down to 7 with no idol? It's kind of, I don't know. I don't think Adam was going to find himself in like a brilliant position either way after this vote.
And the thing is, nobody trusts Will. So to sit there and put your life in Will's hands, if Will ends up voting against Hannah, which he didn't tonight, and Adam did not need to play his idol, but you can't sit here and tell me he completely wasted it. And yeah, it goes down as a wasted idol. In our fantasy game, that's considered a wasted idol. He did not need to play it. But from Adam's perspective, if you lose Hannah tonight, you're down 5-3 and you are stuck. They're never going to work with David, so now you're down 5-2. You already don't really have good relationships with the other side, so you're in trouble here. You're done. And next week, you're not going to be able to swing Will over to your side. All that's going to do is make it 4-4. Tonight, he ensured that Will has to make the decision next week. Are you coming with us, or are you doing rocks again? And it really was, I feel like, his only move, if he feels as tight with those other 3 as we're being led to believe. That is the tighter alliance of the group than the other 5, which was clearly shown tonight when Zeke goes home, Will flipped. Will and Jay are definitely tight. Sunday and Brett are definitely tight. But that other side, all 4 of them are definitely tight.
See, I still question how tight Adam is with that 4. I think he was a number that always kind of – he floated around early in the merge, and then he found that alliance, and they needed him as a number. I think him and Hannah have a really good connection. I think him and Jessica got along well. I think him and Ken probably get along well too, but him and David is the head of that alliance. I could see David flipping on Adam in a heartbeat. I think David, after this tribal council, is going to immediately recognize Adam as a threat. No one had any clue Adam had an idol, so you at least got to give him credit for that. Like, wow, this kid had an idol the whole time, didn't tell anyone. No one had a clue. He just won immunity. He just gave away his advantage. He's sobbing for his love. I mean, he's got so many things that are now building up as a threat that even if he had his idol with him, I don't think he'd make it. It is tough though. It's a tough call, and I don't think you can like grill Adam for this, saying he's just a bad game player that he misplayed that.
Yes, and the way I'm looking at this is, if you're Adam and you're not completely tight with that group, you're the one who's not completely tight with them. So you're making this decision here knowing that you could go to the other side. You also know that David can't flip on you next week, because if David flips on you next week, he's done. He's number 5 on the other side. He can't flip on you next week. So you're sitting there and you're thinking that. So what happens? You vote out one of the other side next week, and then David plays, and then David guns for you at 7. Then you better just hope at 7 you've done something right to make sure that David doesn't get you, or you've made relationships with other people. And I think Adam's looking at this as he can build a relationship with Sunday. He can build a relationship with probably only Sunday. Anyway, doesn't matter. He can build a relationship with Sunday a lot easier than he can build a relationship with Zeke. And Zeke's got to go.
Yeah, I mean, also Zeke's just a huge threat to make sure Zeke goes home.
Seems like he
makes your run at the $1 million. Yeah, makes it so much easier. Let's talk about Zeke. He's a fun player. I thought going into tribal council that he was going to ultimately go home, whether Adam would play his idol or not. I will give the editors a great amount of credit for not having a confessional with Adam. Like, maybe I'll play my idol tonight, maybe not. I still have it. They put that confessional way early after the immunity challenge, where he's like, I have an idol, I have immunity. So like the audience knew that Adam has this idol, and they had that little line to Hannah, like, are you sure it's going to be you? Mm-hmm. And so it was like teased. And if you're not someone like us who keeps track of, because it really wasn't mentioned even on previously on Survivor, at least for me, previously on Survivor was super short.
Seconds.
Yeah, that was really bizarre how short that was. But they haven't slammed it down your throat that Adam has this idol the whole game like they have Jay, and that's because he's been keeping it a secret. And so if you're, I don't know, I wasn't that surprised to play it, but if you're a casual viewer, that had to have been pretty shocking that Adam whipped it out. So I give the editors credit for that. But yes, I did
literally whipped it out too, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was a good moment. I mean, he won immunity. It's pretty rare someone that, won immunity plays an idol. You've said that you thought Zeke was going from the moment this episode started, essentially. And I'd like you to explain your reasoning, because I thought there was a good chance Will was getting built up as someone who's in the middle, gets too cocky with his power. Someone like Sarah from Cagayan, someone like Chrissy from Amazon, who is in the middle and is playing both sides. And eventually, I could see Ken going to Jay, be like, dude, let's just get out Will. Or Brett going to David, being like, hey, let's get out Will. And I know that obviously that Will is the swing vote and you need him, and without him it's going to be tough. But with these groups of 4 not being original tribes, not even being original alliances, being more of, trust clusters, there's such room for, people flipping and flopping and dynamic movement that, so what if it's 4-4 going in at 8-8? Let's play this darn game. Everyone's playing hard. Everyone's making moves. If we lose Will, so be it. I don't have to rely on him and leave the fate of my game in Will's hands. So I thought there was a chance Will was going home, especially because his edit was completely over the top, out of nowhere. He's like yelling at the camera, talking about how I'm not going to be the 18-year-old GOAT, like all of these things. So I thought Will did have a chance at killing. I'd like to hear why you think Zeke was going to go from the get-go.
Well, and I said this in the predictions, I felt like Zeke was in a lot of trouble going into this episode because he had the looser group. And then to start off this episode, they immediately give us, I'm Zeke. I just won that battle. I feel so good. I'm so cocky. And we've seen this so many times where people get built up as cocky. And then what started happening was, as the episode went on, it turned into the whole Zeke versus David thing again. And I was like, okay. So there could be like this little glimmer that David goes. But once David had no longer had a chance to get votes for him, and once Will completely proved that he was in the middle, then there was literally no doubt. So the entire episode I'm watching it going, Zeke's going to be the one who goes home. And then right when you're thinking like, oh, maybe it won't be Zeke, then they just say, well, it's either going to be Will, or then it's like Will goes and talks to Ken goes and talks to everybody. And at this point, you're sitting there going, well, if you actually thought that those two sides were going to come together and vote out Will, you're absolutely crazy. I mean,
I thought it was a possibility early on in the episode.
No way. It was never going to happen.
Before the immunity challenge happened, this is after the reward challenge, I think, when they wake up and Will is, in the shelter and looks to David and says, I want to make a move, and his other fourth. I thought there's a chance, okay, this is pretty early on that Will is flipping. There's time here for the other sides to get together and figure this out, especially since the immunity challenge hadn't even happened yet. So at that point, it's a possibility. Heading into tribal council, absolutely not. I didn't think there was a chance Will was going home. I didn't think Hannah was going home. If anything, I thought Ken would be like the decoy boot for Zeke. But you're right. There wasn't heading into tribal. It was going to be Zeke, but again, that's fine for me because there was drama throughout.
I sat there watching the episode, and I always say this to you. You always focus like, well, there's no blind sides. There's such an obvious boot. You say this all the time, and I always say, to me, I'm more focused on the characters and all of that. I could care less who goes home. I know a lot of people are like, this episode sucked because I knew who was going home the whole time. I seriously sat there and said, if Zeke doesn't win immunity, Zeke's going home. And then I actually thought Zeke was going to win immunity. I really did. I thought that they were kind of playing up that Zeke might actually win immunity. And I was like, okay, so maybe Zeke will be saved. And then these two sides are really going to have to clash, and we might lose somebody like Brett, because I do think that Will would turn on somebody. And then, like there was just never a part of me that said Will is going home tonight. And normally, like, that middle person, you start to feel like it, especially when there was somebody who gets no screen time and all of a sudden they get so much. But, like, they were just never going to be able to get 5 people together to write down Will's name. Adam does not really like the other side. David doesn't like the other side. Hannah's the only one who's worked with the other side, but they completely said after last week, like, we're done with you. And Ken hates the other side. I mean, that little moment on the beach when they were all talking to each other.
Yeah, but
when Ken called out Will, hang on. When Ken called out Will, when they were all talking to each other, and all of a sudden Will, like, came over and he's like, so you're blowing up my game, and started talking to all of them, Ken just stormed off. He wanted nothing to do with any of them. He just walked away, and he was pissed. He just got out of there.
Right, and I think this is exactly what we were talking about in the predictions episode, where David's group is much tighter. Zeke's side isn't. So I could see Will coming, or I could see Jay coming over, or even Sunday, or even
No way Jay ever votes for Will.
I mean, Jay's playing he voted off Michaela. Supposedly they were best friends who would talk about their families all the time. And she was,
okay, but he's not voting Will off now at this point.
Okay. How about Brett or Sunday or even Zeke coming over and saying, look, Will is – you have to realize Will just flipped on 4 people, okay? And you have 4 people on one side. All you need is one more. You have this tight 4 that was welcoming Will in, and then realizes maybe Will – I don't know. What is he up to? He's been playing both sides since the merge. At least that's what we keep hearing. So all they need to do is pull over like Brett, Sunday, or Zeke, and then you have 5 there. And again, this is not what I was thinking once we were headed into Tribal Council or even before Tribal Council. I'm saying earlier in the episode, Will came out of nowhere yelling at the camera. So at least for me, this episode is a little bit more suspenseful. But look, I think I give more, onus to the boot on how to grade an episode, saying like, look, if the boot is really exciting, it really caps off an episode. And you say, no, I focus on the character moments and all that stuff. And we go back and forth on this all the time. The character moments in this episode were so good and so much better than average, so much better than even like great. Like these were top shelf, like the whole loved one scene was not contrived, not forced at all, really genuine. And then the whole thing with Ken and Will was amazing. I thought the challenges were good. I mean, Adam stuck under that log, just groaning, wanting to see his loved one. I mean, have we seen anything like this before? It was
almost like a cartoon, and it was kind of pathetic. It was really funny. It
was funny, but it was so real. And this was happening all throughout the episode. And I loved it. I loved it.
There goes Doug. Anyway, I was thinking during that Adam thing when he was stuck under there, it almost felt like a Will Ferrell or like a Seth Rogen movie where like, I'm stuck, help me, like please help, and like he's screaming like in agony for his brother, and he's just like, there's no way he's moving. And like instead of even like at that point, it didn't even seem like he was trying to move anymore. It was just like, let me make as many loud noises until this finally just ends. I seriously felt like I was watching like some type of like oddball comedy where like the character's just stuck in some stupid situation.
It is. You're laughing and then you're crying. Really, I mean, I had tears in my eyes.
Yeah, you feel so bad for him.
I know, but not that. I mean, when Jay like picked Adam and is like, man, I've been pulling with you all game. I mean, these I haven't felt this way about a cast in some time. And then on top of all this, who is winning this darn thing? I mean, we have David, Jay. Adam now certainly is I still think he's a big long shot, but Hannah certainly, she's called the vote, predicted the vote where it's going twice in a row. Talk about Ken for a second. For everybody, I don't know, I didn't get grilled as this so much, but I told you and you disagreed with me. I said Ken's not winning this game, and it had nothing to do with his edit. His edit kicked ass pre-merge. I said this, he's not a gamer, he's not winning this game because he will not know how to play this game. And of course, he shoots his entire game in the foot. He shoots his alliance in the foot. But you know what? You know what it is though? And yes, he doesn't know how to play this game. He really doesn't. He had no clue. He completely blew it up. And even like Adam said, like this wasn't a test, this was a betrayal. And Adam screamed that for us to make sure we understood. But the thing with Ken is they're playing up his daughter.
and they're playing up him and his relationship with his brother. And I want to talk about this.
Are you still giving Ken
no,
a chance to win? Are you?
Shut.
Tell me. Are you giving a chance?
I do not think Ken can win. But they are playing him up as such a hero that I can understand why people think that Ken can win. We look at it so in depth. And congratulations to you for picking one of the 19 people who's not going to win the game. Congratulations. You picked one of 19. 19 people aren't going to win this game. Congrats, you called Ken right away. I'm sure I could have sat there and said Zeke has no chance to win the game after episode 1, too. And you know what? It would have been a completely ridiculous statement, but Zeke went home, so I would have been right. So congrats on that. But seriously, and also,
but did he not kill his game in the very fashion I predicted?
No,
and go
search,
he did,
and that I will say.
Go search season 33 Edgic. Everyone can go do this on Google. Look at all these charts. Ken is the front runner. It's him and Rochelle the entire pre-merge. Most have Ken at the very top, saying he's going to win. And those are the people that all they do is look at edits. And I know this isn't even an edit-related thing when you say, dude, the dude doesn't have the game mind to win the game. So I'm not like trying to give myself so much credit here, but you did disagree with me heavily on this pre-merge. So I do want to come out and say, look, Ken can no longer win. And maybe if he wins, holy crap, then I don't know which way is up. But
this is what I want. I want to say this about this, though. We look at this and we talk about this for 3 hours a week at least, sometimes more. And the thing is, with somebody like Ken, I can totally see why somebody who's just watching this week to week can sit there and say Ken's going to win. And I get you're talking about Edgic here. But I'm talking like I have like friends and family members who just watch the show just to watch the show that are sitting there going, oh, I think Ken can win. I really like Ken. And they're still saying it.
In a person like that mind, anyone who's still left in the game can win. I think that you have to at least think that that's how they think. And not to like belittle them. That's how I watched the show for the first, probably 25 seasons watching this show. Yeah. And I loved it. So I'm not trying to belittle that. I'm just saying when you look at someone like Ken and the way he thinks, and we saw this so early in the pre-merge when someone, like when the whole thing with Jessica, that Jessica had to confirm what Ken was saying is true. He's like, you would think I would lie? And it honestly hurt him. Yeah. You saw him, when Will said, Ken, we're writing your name down, or they're thinking about writing your name down, he had a confession where he goes, what? I don't get it.
It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't. He couldn't even process that he's playing a game for $1 million where people are going to do, some pretty crazy things, some not pretty crazy things, and voting out someone like Ken, who, is a physical threat and, a pretty nice guy, even though, I don't know, Will's words about Ken were very, very interesting.
Well, Will was losing his mind there a little bit. Will was getting really mad because he finally tried to make a move and somebody blew his game up. And I really liked Will tonight. And this is another thing I want to talk about. Where the hell did this come from? I think Will might have had as many confessionals tonight as he's had all season. And this just blows up out of nowhere. And like he was carrying the episode. Like we could have watched him for hours, all these other episodes. We didn't need to see none of Will. And tonight we saw a lot of Will. And you said to me, and this is another Edgic thing, but you said the OTTP. This was very positive of Will, and I know that it might come across as like, no. He got caught.
Yeah, keep going. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I know it comes across that he got caught, but he was so worried about winning the game. I think that's a very positive thing. He just tells Ken, and Ken really should have just kept his mouth shut, and this would have been fine, but Ken can't help himself, and Ken wants to be honest and test him. Ken's doing whatever he's doing, but, somebody like Will, I can't believe this happened. I don't know if we've ever seen an episode like this from somebody who's had so little impact on the season up to this point.
Yeah, and, I think with the Michaela boot, I think Will was probably more influential than we thought. And, again, this is more evidence that would point to a Jay win where they give Jay more credit for the Michaela boot than Will. And we see Jay repeating that tonight, having to say, look, I'll give you some of the credit almost. So that was repeated. But Will has been, just because you haven't made any big moves doesn't mean you haven't been playing the game hard. I think that's a big misconception. If you haven't blindsided your closest ally, doesn't mean you're playing hard. That means, look, you're still in the game and you've been doing right things. I think Will's at the point where he's like, look, it's final 9. I'm still here, but I have nothing to point at what I did on my own. I think that's where he's coming from. And I don't know how often we see this. This is a pretty new way to look at the game. I think this season is the most, meta season ever. I saw something on Reddit today. Someone said this is the most meta season ever. People are thinking about the game and about how they're perceived and what they need to do more so than ever before. And Will's sitting there saying, I need a resume. I mean, have we heard these words before? I mean, obviously at the end of the season when they go to tribal council, they'll mention their resume. But this early, we're sitting at final 9. Will is worried about his resume instead of worried about, surviving to the next. I mean, he's like, I want to play hard, and it doesn't matter if I get caught. Like, I want to do it. I want to go for it. So, hey, I give credit to Will. It sucks that Ken has no game awareness and can't keep his mouth shut. It did make for an entertaining episode, though.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, this is why I'm loving this so much, is somebody like Will in a normal season probably doesn't come out and try to make the move. He's like, well, it's final 9. I can make the move later. He's realizing, like, wow, people are giving all the credit to everybody else in this alliance. I want to be recognized for this. And it's funny that Adam even kind of overshadows him by playing the idol, meaning like, Will, you didn't even have to make the move. Like, Adam played the idol. But Will got rid of the biggest threat in the game and got rid of an idol that nobody even knew existed because he's so wishy-washy. I think this is a very good episode for Will, and I'm very happy to see people that they're not making the moves necessary to win the game. And maybe he could have won the game had he not done this. But I don't think he could have. If he's sitting there at the end against Jay and Zeke, he knows he loses if he never makes this type of move.
Yeah, I mean, it's so hard because we have just a very limited perspective of Will. But if you're Will and you're out there and it's weird, though, that you would say that out loud in front of the jury members, in front of everyone else. I want to play this game hard so I can have a resume. It's almost too little, too late at that point if you're having to say that, because the first thing it does, it paints a target on your back. Like, look, everyone left in the game now knows you're playing for a resume, which means you're going to play sporadically. You're going to make big moves that might not necessarily help you. They might not be wise. And a good strategic player is going to think of, how does this benefit everyone else? How does this benefit Will? How can I convince Will to do something? And if Will doesn't have his own best interest for the sake of making a big move and creating a resume, then how can I play strategically? And that's what we go back to Jeremy's quote. It's easier to play with the smart players than the dumb players, because dumb players you don't need to know. You have no idea what they're doing. And so if Will is just going to be all over the place, that's so threatening. If I'm out there, Will is one of the people I want out next, because I know his motives. I know exactly what he wants. I know his issues, that he hasn't done anything big. And he still hasn't done anything big. Like you said, Adam overshadowed him. So
I completely lost you.
To anybody. I am keeping that to myself and, making the moves I need to make, because I think that paints, huge target on your back.
I completely lost you. I have no idea what you just said there. But anyway, what I wanted to say is with Will.
Wow.
What?
I mean, what? That's a lot to lose.
You cut off for 10 seconds. I have no idea what happened. It was pretty bad. I mean, I know you were talking about Will and how he's finally,
Okay, whatever.
Doing his thing. Anyway, sorry. I missed it. I hope that everybody else didn't. I don't know what happened. But yeah, somebody and this, I think this proved Jeremy's quote even more correctly, is what Ken did tonight. Ken is somebody who doesn't know how to play the game. He's impossible to play with, because you bring something up to him that is perfectly logical and going to save him and going to get him further. And he goes over and he blows it. And somehow it still worked out for him.
That's a very, very good point. Very good point. So you did hear what I said.
Did you say that?
Jeremy's quote?
Well, I heard you say Jeremy's quote, and then you cut off 2 seconds later.
Oh, okay. Well, you heard Jeremy's quote. Okay, perfect. No, that's a great point. Ken, that's not someone I want to play with either. Someone that has no idea that you can't go tell the opposite alliance the secret plan that you're working on. You can't.
And I will say right now, this final 8, every single one of them knows how to play this game, except for Ken. Except for Ken, every single one of them knows how to play, and I really think that that's been the case probably since Taylor went home.
Okay, so how about this? Because we did our worst player in Survivor history, and we had big disagreements about. We're not Survivor history. Worst play to make a finale. If Ken and Sunday are both in a finale, who do you have as a worst player?
Well, here's another thing. If Ken goes to the finale and wins, then you can't say he's the worst player. And okay. I don't think he's going to win. Finale and he wins, how can you say he's a worse player than?
Of course,
Sunday?
I wouldn't, and he's not going to.
But if they both go to the finale and don't win, I would say Ken's the worst player. I wouldn't say he's one of the worst to ever make a finale. I mean, there's some terrible players.
No, I know.
Through that whole list.
We went through that whole list, and anyone who is listening can check it out. We got in heavy debate about, what really is it? If you never had a chance to win the game, how good of a player are you? And that was kind of the heart of that debate. But we can keep going here. I don't know if you want to take this back from the beginning. We've covered a lot of bases already. If you want to just hop in the comments.
I think the only thing
we have
the only thing I really want to talk about before we get into the comments, the only thing I really want to talk about is this the actual loved one visit and them coming in. And I feel like this was one of the most emotional ones we've gotten, and that's why I said it was a little sappy almost. What I found very interesting here is that they kept on having mothers come in. And when mothers would come in, they'd put the camera on Adam, who just had his brother come in. And nobody had a spouse come in this time.
I was going to say that. No significant other, no spouses, no girlfriends, boyfriends, anything like that. And honestly, maybe that's why it felt more genuine, because these are people with their family.
Lived with their whole life.
Yeah, because when Spencer comes in and says, I love you to his girlfriend that, I don't know, they've been dating for a year and he's 23 years old, there's something a little, and not that that wasn't cute and you know, that was more funny and warm. But when, you know, you have family members that are literally breaking down in each other's arms, it's like, well, that's not fake. Like, that's not for the show.
Like, if you were out there on the show and they built up like that, you couldn't tell your girlfriend that you loved her, and then you did on the show, I'd make fun of you for no end. But I'm not making fun of any of these 8 people or any of these 9 people tonight.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Maybe the no significant other thing is what kind of made it feel more genuine. I don't know. I don't know what that says about us or about the show or life in general. I don't know if other people agree, but it seemed like every connection.
Well, Sunday did have her husband, didn't she? Sunday did have her husband.
Oh, you're right. You're right. That was the
first one, so it was like so quick. And that was even real though. I mean, Sunday, you know, she's always talked about how she's family oriented and she's, you know, I mean, so obviously that one's gonna be a little more real. Like, but to me, like having David's father come out there and Zeke's father come out there, like Jay's sister. I mean, dude, like those moments that you don't expect to be as big as they were incredible compared to like, yeah, this is my girlfriend, or, you know, Kelly Wentworth and her dad who have already played the game together and clearly like she's not gonna break down crying on Dale's shoulder. You know what I mean? Like, this was just so much more meaningful, and especially with the underlying theme of Adam's mom has cancer and we're the only ones who know it, you know, I'm meaning the audience are the only ones who know it. You know how painful this is for him and everybody else out there. They're all saying, we're not going to cry, we're not going to cry. And Brett's breaking down crying with his dad, and just great stuff. His dad called him a hunk, and I thought that was hilarious. I mean, it was just great stuff.
No, all around. Again, this episode continued to bring it. Even that immunity challenge too. It's not the most exciting thing to watch, but Jay or Adam are in the finals, and you know, after they had that moment with the reward, it was so fitting that they were the two sitting there. It really, I think that the challenges worked together really nicely here.
I agree. All right, let's jump to comments. I mean, we talked for over a half hour just about the episode. We don't need to take it like with play by play. I mean, we covered everything, I think. So let's
not everything.
Well, we covered most, but whatever we didn't. We're going to start with Steel Punch. Seriously, probably having an argument with himself here. At least that's how it seems to me. So I'm going to read all 4 of these in a row, and you guys tell me if Steel Punch is conflicted here. So first, episode disgusted me. Will was going to make a move, and Adam ruined it. No need for the idol. This was Will's episode. Will for MVP made a major move, took out a power player, while Adam setting it in stone. I don't know who for LVP. Ken did not mess up. As much as I love Will Wall, he should not have talked to Ken because everyone knows how Ken plays the game. After tonight, I seriously believe Will has a chance to win. He made a huge move, and not Adam. No need for idol. LVP Adam. That was seriously like all within seconds of each other. I seriously feel like I just had an argument with myself.
I think Steel Punch is playing like devil's advocate for both sides, saying like, this is why Adam, you know, wasted an idol. This is why Will was dumb. This is why he was smart. Did he cast 2 MVP and LVP votes though? That's the important part.
He said Will MVP both times.
Okay, so that's where his heart really lies. He's proud of Will for, you know, making the big move, and I am too. That brings up a good point. Who is MVP? Who you got? I'm gonna go. Who do I have left on my team? I think I have Will.
Adam and Brett.
I don't know, man. It's between Will and Adam for sure for me, and then you're gonna toss up Jay, I assume.
Yeah, I'm gonna toss up Jay. Why would I not?
Yeah, I mean, Adam not playing his advantage is got to be tough to come out and just say, I'm not going to steal it. And it probably is really tough to steal it also, so that might have been easy. But kudos on him for doing it. You know, he did win immunity. You know, he didn't play his idol correctly, but I think he's really had a great episode and came into his own as like a real contender here for the end. So I'd probably go Adam. Will also came out of nowhere, played really hard. I give it to Will or Adam. It's hard for me to argue against Jay, though. This sucks that he's been on your team.
Well, and I don't even argue against you. I let you do all the arguing against because people just get fed up with you and then give me the points anyway. But I'll say with Jay, he did this whole family reward thing, and he wins the family reward. And it's always a tough position when you have to pick somebody. And he goes, I got to pick Will, and I got to pick Sunday. And those were his reasoning. And when he gets to have to do that last one, when he says he could have taken it from us, and he actually starts breaking down because you can tell this is actually wearing on him that he had to like rip this away from people.
He looked at Jack and he's like, dude, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like he actually said that out loud. Like it was brutal.
And so he pulls up, he says, because he could have done it and he didn't. And we've been brawling the whole time. And I think this is a brilliant move on Jay's part because he's realizing his goal is to send Adam to the jury. But Adam is a person. Yes, he might not get along with him in the game, but Adam is a person. Adam is not going to forget what Jay did for him there. And if Jay makes it to the end and Adam's sitting on the jury, Adam's going to remember that. Adam is going to sit there and he's going to remember that. And I think Jay knows that. And Jay is looking long-term. Yes, it was emotional. And yes, it was real. But I think Jay respected Adam enough in that moment to be like, you know what? We've pissed each other off, but I have to realize like this is more than just a game. Like you could have totally screwed all of us right here and you did not. And then on top of all of that, one little subtle moment that I thought was great.
Wait, hold on. Let me hop in because it's right with this reward thing. Another brilliant part about this move to take Adam is, and he says, oh, Adam didn't play his advantage. Like he could have and he didn't. How can you argue against that? If you're Brett, David, Zeke, Ken, how can you sit there and say like, oh, Jay, why didn't you take me? It makes the perfect – it's such like a – it's like a cop-out almost, but it makes so much sense that it isn't really a cop-out. And this whole time we begin Adam's story about his mom, like everything fit together just so perfectly. So
and they still don't even know about Adam's mom. That's what is so crazy about this whole thing. And what I give Adam a lot of respect for is in this moment, not only could he have stolen it, he could have said to everybody, I'm not going to steal it, but my mom has stage 4 cancer. And
he could have virtually stolen it. Yeah.
He could have virtually stolen it, but he didn't. He kept it all to himself, and I don't know if that was a good thing or a bad thing for him because like Jay said tonight, we saw a softer side of Adam. I don't think they've seen enough of what we're seeing of Adam. I think Adam around all of them is a game bot, but to the viewer, to the audience, we're seeing a very emotional player. They're not. So I think that's very unique on how he's been edited, and it's almost like the opposite of Johnny Fairplay, if that makes sense. Where to the camera, he was so awful and just like game, but to the people, they all loved him. They thought he was great. They thought he was a nice guy, other than Rupert and Sandra, obviously. But they thought he was a really good guy. He could have won that game if he made the final tribal. I think Adam is doing the exact opposite, where we can't get enough of him, but he's not sharing enough with the people he's actually out on the island with.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it. Absolutely. So, yeah, continue on to your next bit about tribal council.
My next point for Jay, in favor of Jay, is at tribal council. When Will was getting mad at everybody, Will made the great statement of, well, if there's one person who's actually treated me with respect the entire time, it's Jay. And
why did the editors leave that in there?
Well, because Jay has treated everybody with respect the entire game. And like you said last week, after he won the immunity challenge, he sits there and he says, I'm going to beat all these fools. Like, I'm just going to beat all these fools. I got this and that. That's just how he talks. To all of them, they all see this really likable guy who's just on the wrong side of the numbers. Him giving Adam the reward. That shows how big of a person Jay is. For Will to sit there and complain about Sunday and Brett and Zeke, two of those people, I mean, Sunday, the mother of the group, to complain about them but say Jay is treated with him with respect the entire time, that says a lot about how Jay's playing this game. A lot. Jay still has not received a vote since hitting the merge.
And with all that being said, and I think that bodes well for Jay, I think it could hurt him as well, just because he is such a threat. And now Zeke is gone. So, I mean, we'll do our whole predictions episode on Sunday, and we'll kind of get into what we think will happen. But now that Zeke's gone, I think you have David and Jay at the top, and they're on opposite sides of the alliance here. Jay could certainly be in some trouble, and obviously has his idol. But it will be very interesting to see what it looks like for Jay moving forward. So yeah, let's keep rolling with the comments here. I think we hit one comment and we go off on a 10-minute tangent.
But I had a lot of things to say about that one. Gamer Girl, do you think Jay plays his idol for anyone? If so, who? Will, obviously. Do you think that?
No, absolutely.
I don't think he plays it for anybody. He doesn't need to.
He's not close enough to anybody. If Will's his greatest ally, what did his greatest ally do tonight? He openly flipped, and I loved how Will made this point at Tribal. I was not swayed Sunday. I went up to them and pitched this to them. That was great. I loved how Will said that. And that should make it clear to Jay and everyone else on that side that Will does not have your best interest. It's not like they were prying on Will. Get over here, Will. And Will's like, all right. It's like, no. He jumped ship completely on his, on the will of himself. So Jay's going to play that for himself. Absolutely.
Steel Punch, fun fact, Olavi Kabula is 5 of the final 8. Alliance down the line, question mark. And there you go. Everybody who said the Michaela thing was going to doom them all.
Oh,
every
it gets
one of
better,
them
doesn't it?
Still in the game.
Dude, we're going to have to do a podcast after the season. And I apologize to people who didn't rip into us, but we had so many people. We got, I think, like 15 dislikes on our YouTube video about once we defended Jay's move right after it happened. It's the most dislikes we've ever gotten, except for maybe when Michelle won.
When Michelle won, because I defended it the whole time.
Yeah. Other than that, people were mad and calling us. So, I mean, we try to stay humble here. We love that, that has proven to be completely not true. And we really were some of the only people in the Survivor community to say, hey, look, this move made sense for Jay. And I'll take that to my, I'll take that to my grave. I'll keep saying that.
Yeah.
Even if he doesn't win.
I like that we stick to our guns, man. We don't get swayed by what everybody else is saying. We point out why they're wrong. And
we
right
can stick to our guns when it's
when we're right.
When Jay's still in the game.
You're right on Jay so far. I mean, at least you've proven that. You said right away that Jay is not done because of this. Jay and Will have not gotten votes yet, guys. They have not gotten a vote yet.
There we go. Yeah, then watch Jay goes out, next week. He plays his idol for Will. Jay gets voted out. And then we're sitting here, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody likes us. I don't know, man. I just think too many people jump off and then they get like that pack culture or whatever it is, that pack mindset. And I don't know. Maybe that's what the mob mentality. Thank you. I couldn't think of the word. But yeah, we stuck to the guns last year, or I did. You're sticking to the guns this year, and that's good. I mean, I never counted Jay out, guys. I'm saying that. I couldn't believe when people were saying that because I don't look at it as much as you do. And you kept coming back to me. You're like, dude, did you see what this person said? Did you see what this person said? Everybody's counting out Jay.
Not everybody, but there was some, choice words about it.
And I like how now, and we got a comment on here on I think it's on the YouTube video where somebody's like, look, they have Jay as like the 4th most likely to win in Edgic. It's like, yeah. So now he's on the radar. It's like, don't give me that. Where was that 3 weeks ago?
Out of 9 people. Out of 9 people.
Yeah, give me that 4 weeks ago. Yeah. Where was that 4 weeks ago? He was like 8 or 9. Like, get out of here, And like maybe he did have a better chance, but nobody was considering him as any chance to win.
And then again, this is why I'm loving this season, because the episodes are so good, and the winner has been so up in the air this entire season. I mean, last season it was pretty much I thought it was going to be Aubrey or Michelle for a while. I think Hannah's still in the mix here. Adam came out of nowhere. Zeke's obviously gone, but this whole post-merge has had so many contenders, and they've all had flaws. That's what makes reading the edit kind of fun. You find the person who doesn't have flaws. You had Ken and Michelle kind of riding this thing to the merge. Then Michelle goes home, and then Ken you don't hear from. So it's like all these people. It's like, who's going to win? And I'm sitting here, I don't know who's going to win, and it makes it so much fun to watch, especially with just every character is bringing it this season. Episodes, editing. Man, this might be Kageyama. This might be one of my favorite seasons. We'll see how this plays out, but I will say now, I am loving it even more than I was last week.
Mm-hmm. Giovanni Oriana, remember how Monica said she would play for Monica? I feel like Will is trying to do the same thing, and he puts up the gif of Brad Culpepper trying to figure out the numbers in Blood vs. Water, which is a classic gif. But, yeah, I feel like Will finally hit that moment, and I thought it was a huge thing that you brought up at Tribal when he's saying, no, I didn't get swayed. I went to them. That's him trying to own something because he hasn't been able to own anything yet. And I think this is, you got to do what you got to do when your back's against the wall. Even though his back's not completely there, he's realizing that he's got to do something to prove he can win.
It is so funny because we were saying this in the last recap. Anytime Will tries to play the game, it doesn't really work out. Like in the first hour last week, he goes around telling everyone, or he tells Zeke about Jay's idol, like, I'm going to gain some trust. Everyone finds out about it. There's no consequences. Nothing has happened. Still nothing's happened. And then tonight he flips, and it doesn't matter. Like, even if he didn't flip, Zeke would have still gone home. And it's like, Will, you can't even take credit for this one. Like, because if you didn't do this move, like, the same thing would have happened. It's pretty brutal for the 18-year-old.
Yeah. I just refreshed the YouTube page, and D6 Comedy commented and said, my boys Philly and Willie, I want Adam to at least get the final 3 now. What an amazing episode for him. Even though he wasted his idol, it was a good play. It's always good when D6 agrees with us. He was one.
I love it. And D6 was one of the people who were like,
very against.
very against the Jay move. So I'm interested. D6, you're listening. Let me know how Jay's doing. Does he have an idol at Final 8? Is that the case?
So I want to know though, D6, do you think that Jay can win the game? This is a serious question. I'm not trolling like Will just did there. Does he have an idol at Final 8? Yeah, we love D6. But I'm just saying, I really want to know if D6 thinks that Jay can win the game right now. Giovanni Rihanna, is this the season where idols are being played for? What is this, a charity? I know people have been bringing this up. This is the third time that an idol's been played for somebody else. And this has happened in other seasons. And I think somebody, I might be in one of the comments where they were saying that person ever to play an idol for somebody else while he was immune, which I thought was really interesting.
That it's the first time. Wow. I think
third time.
Oh, the third time. Well, for a while, I think Jeremy was the first winner to ever play an idol successfully for himself or herself and win the game. I think. Okay. Season 31. That was the first time it happened. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure there was no other winner who had ever played an idol. Actually, Mike. Did Mike do that?
Mike just won every immunity.
No, I think Mike played his idol for himself when he didn't that one time. But maybe he didn't vote for him. They didn't cast the votes because they knew he'd play it. When I say successfully played, it means they would have gone home. And I think Jeremy was the first one to ever do that. So playing it for other people, it's like I think it improves your game. It's like, look, I kept my allies alive. Why I didn't even receive enough votes to go home. Because if you play an idol successfully, it means you had enough votes to get voted out of the game. So there's that kind of negative aspect to it. So having this idol and using it as like a trust cluster builder, or, showing off to the jury, like you look at Natalie, like, who says, did you vote for who I told you to vote for? And Jacqueline says yes. And Natalie's like, all right, plays the idol for someone else. I forget who, on Baylor. And then she walks to the back, back to her seat. The jury's like, whoa, this chick's in control of the game. Not only is she not getting votes, she knows where the votes are going and is controlling who voted it. So I think you get more, cred if you're tossing out idols for other people. It makes you look good. You don't need it for yourself.
Yeah, and I know that we got to read all the comments, but I just want to get back to D6. Hold on, Philly. This episode was amazing. Adam tore that game up, and Jay still can't win. Now what? LMFAO JK. So I think that he thinks that he can. D6 also says in a comment, and this is going to be my prediction for next week anyway, Jay is going to idol Adam out of the game, thus ending their feud. Thoughts, even though this episode kind of ended their feud. I'm thinking Adam's in a lot of trouble next week, especially if he starts gunning for Will. I think Adam with no protection is doomed.
Adam's in a tough spot. Not only does he not have his idol, he is so much more of a threat now. Like night and day from he was under the radar this whole time. He poked his head out of the hole. Like now he is just primed to get picked off. I hope it doesn't happen. If anything, I mean, this would be a Will dream if it was just Adam and Jay teaming up to take out David. I'd like to see that. Very unlikely, but if Adam and Jay really have settled their differences and both can realize David is still out here, he's still a huge threat. He's, found idols. He's made moves. He's been this threat for a while. The jury loves him. He's an underdog. If they can realize these things and say, look, we're a couple millennial bros, let's bro down and get out David. That's what I would want to see. But we will get into all of that and power rankings and fantasy all on Sunday.
Yeah, hopefully I have a real computer by then. I'm still not on my computer. Still don't have one. Anyway, Adam Heinrichs, MVP Jay for taking Adam to go on reward and received, even though it was dumb, the reward stealer from him and still has idol. Giovanni Rihanna, did Zeke live up to the hype? I thought he was okay. I thought he was a good character. I thought he was a lot of fun, but I don't think that he was like what Jeff made him out to be. I thought Zeke was great, though.
Yeah, I mean, I never heard the Jeff quote exactly. I think I heard it through you. So I don't know exactly what was said about Zeke. He was a fun, interesting character. Anyone who plays hard and can defend their decisions in an eloquent and like charming, kind of whimsical, funny way, which Zeke did throughout the game, then, sign me up for that character. I don't think he got a hashtag, though, which I'm kind of bummed by because it's Zeke this whole time. No hashtags. That was who I had for the prop bet, I'm pretty sure. So kind of a bummer there.
Yeah, I mean, Zeke, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, I liked how in his his confessional at the end, like after he gets voted off. He's like, I don't know. I think I could have gotten better at this game as I kept going on. Maybe I will.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, and then Giovanni also asked, what was Zeke's impact on the game? I thought he had a positive impact on the game. I mean, I thought he was really good. I thought he, like, and when I said he was okay, he was good, and then I ended up saying he was great, I realized what I said there. But what I'm saying is, like, I think he was okay in terms of the hype, but I still thought he was, like, a really, really good, almost great character. You know, he's not going to be – I mean, Jeff was playing him up like he was, like, the greatest thing since, like, Richard Hatch. And it's like, okay, he's not that, but he's a really fun character. I'd like to see Zeke play again.
Yeah, I thought Zeke was going to be more weird and more out there. Just from his preseason interview, he has lots of energy. He's kind of kooky and on this millennial tribe. And, you know, someone like Debbie last season who was just like such a nut. And sometimes Debbie was just a little over the top for me and I couldn't really relate. Zeke always kept it kind of level, like really level-headed the entire game. And so I'm not going to say like, oh, was he good or bad? I was just surprised by that. And so that kind of – I didn't really go in thinking Zeke was going to be that type of player. I thought he was going to be more of a wild, loose cannon. He was very calculated, very manipulative, and I thought played really hard in a good game. So I definitely think –
yeah, they were calling him the mafia head, the mobster.
I think we're better for having Zeke on our TV screens.
For sure. Adam Heinrichs, do you think another idol is going to be hidden at camp? And does the idol description say you must play this for someone else? Do you think that there's going to be another idol, or are you still thinking no?
That's a tough one. I think yes, because we're at 8. I hope there's not, and it honestly wouldn't surprise me if there's not, just because we have legacy advantage. We still have the reward steal. There's enough going on, and there's enough, you know, good strategy and good characters. I think production sometimes they'll be like, man, we have nothing going on in this season, and idol was played. Let's toss another idol out there to cause some drama. I don't doubt that that's the case. So for this season, hopefully they can sit back and say, look, we have 2 advantages there already. Have had 2 or 3 just great tribal councils in a row. We don't need to touch this recipe right now. It's looking good.
Yeah. I don't think they're going to hide one. I think it's just too much. Giovanni, do you think Jay should have been the target? He has an idol, almost won immunity this episode, and won't suspect it this time. I mean, a lot of times now. And they just keep on forgetting about Jay.
Are they forgetting, or is he making them forget?
He's making them forget. He's too likable. He seems a lot of times with winners. They're normally threats the entire time. That's why they're able to win at the end. Anybody else before them for a bad reason.
Yeah, and I've made comparisons to Parvati saying, look, she was called out as a threat in Micronesia day 1, and she just went through the whole game and blasted and survived and maneuvered and won. And I said also that this wasn't going to be if Jay wins, it wouldn't be a Mike Holloway win where he wins every single challenge. And look, he won one. He's won 1 immunity. That's it. That's all he's won, and he's still here and still has his idol.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I keep saying. Like, everybody who said this was a bad move, he still has not gotten a vote since that move. Or if he did, it was 1 random vote. He wasn't ever a target. Adam Heinrichs, LVP Will, wants to make a big move, which he did, but is trying to flip from bottom of Alliance A to bottom of Alliance B. I agree. I think he was just trying to get rid of the biggest threat. I don't think he was trying to go to the bottom of another alliance, which he would have put himself there. But in this game that goes back and forth, he knows Jay has the idol. I think he still thinks there's options. I think he really did just want to get rid of Zeke.
Yeah, I mean, I've said it before. I said it when defending Will, kind of being in the middle. Maybe someone would take him out. Like, there are so many moving pieces right now. If you flip 1 week, you're fine. Like, no one's going to hold you to that. Even though this week was a rare exception where, like, it was right at – I was 5 before, like, right at the start of the episode.
Yeah. Gamer Girl, how does this loved ones visit compare to the others? Certainly better than Cambodia's. I mean, yes, certainly better than Cambodia's. This was one of the better – I mean, we talked about that. This was one of the better ones.
I mean, I'd go as far to say – I don't remember each one. It's top 5?
That noise.
Maybe 1? Maybe top 5? I don't know.
I mean, it could definitely be number 1. I don't remember them all. The family visits to me are always good, and then they're always forgettable. I know I don't sit here and think about the family visits the way I think about other stuff.
Exactly.
I really like the
And this was
Micronesia one.
memorable. This was memorable. It really was, with the whole advantage thing and Jay picking Adam. I really think it was a memorable family visit.
Yeah, and I really think like Micronesia for me always sticks out. Obviously, Pearl Islands. I mean, if you're not saying that sticks out, then you're crazy.
Oh, right.
So, but like, you know, like with Micronesia, it was very like Eric going crazy with his brother, and then James like not even showing emotion to his dad. Parvati with her, you know, her British father, which came out of nowhere, really shocked me. Just like that was like a fun one. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
like this was probably the best.
Great.
Cerie's husband was great. Love that guy. I don't even remember who Amanda had because I never remember. Natalie, I think, had her sister. Anyway, that one was great. Pearl Islands is great. This one's great. You know. And Gabon. Gabon might be the best one ever. Just because Bob won and brought them all in. That might be like one of the best moments of a family visit that the show's ever had.
And that cast. Love that cast.
Yeah. Yeah, that was – and that's the thing. I think it more depends. Think about those 4 that we just listed. It's all about the cast. I mean, those are 4 great casts that are stuck with at the family visit.
There you go.
All right, Gamer Girl, was that the shortest previously on Survivor segment to date? I mean, it was up there. That was nothing.
I don't remember if they even did previously in season 1, but it really – I couldn't imagine them doing a segment and being short of that. That was crazy. I thought I was like I was like, what happened? I was actually worried that because I was watching the CBS stream. I was utterly confused for a few minutes.
Mm-hmm. Let me see here. Giovanni, why did Will pick Rocks and then vote out Zeke this week? Seems odd.
His mom.
Yeah, I mean, he could have just gone.
He said his mom woke him up, you know?
Yeah. Adam Heinrichs, that moment when Adam's brother got more confessionals than Brett and Sunday. Yeah, I mean, it happens sometimes. I mean, Brett and Sunday weren't a part of the episode this time. You know, they still got their moments. They still had a really long thing with their family members. It's not like they weren't there.
Yeah, and Brett finally did not go on reward.
Finally. God, it took him long enough. Let's see. T-Rex Survivor. I think Will Stock and Jay just skyrocketed now that Zeke threat is gone. Now that the Zeke threat is gone. I mean, yeah, Zeke being gone, man, that really changes the shape of this game.
He was a threat, though. Someone that steal votes from him.
Giovanni, was Zeke's mistake getting rid of Chris and then trying to take out David too soon? I think yes, and I think Zeke realized that in his confessional at the end there. And I think in his final words, I think that's right. I think he was spot on with he tried to go for David just too soon.
Yeah, and I said this on the predictions. I don't think once he knew David was gunning for him, I don't blame him from trying to get out David. It was the Chris move that was really the questionable one, and it ultimately led to David being so wary of Zeke in the first place. And David probably would have targeted Zeke anyway, but taking out Chris, who he really had a good connection with, I think that was the bigger mistake.
Yeah. Anthony L., if the trend of hidden immunity idols being played for someone else other than the original idol holder, then this would be the first time, Millennials vs. Gen X in 33 seasons, that this has happened. Hidden immunity idols have came about in play since season 11. But no, this has, this happens a lot. I mean, this isn't the first time at all.
Yeah, maybe he's saying for the course of an entire season, no idol is played on the person who found it and played it.
Oh, yeah, maybe. Yeah, that would be interesting.
Yeah, and I don't even think you could play it for other people when it first came out. I think it was only for you.
No. I mean, Gary had to play it for himself, and then, yeah. Giovanni. Tyson played an idol for Jervis when he was immune. Ozzy played it for Whitney. So there's the 2 times. Cool. Giovanni again. Yeah, so Adam isn't the first person. T-Rex, Tyson. Oh, my God, everybody's just saying the same thing. This must have been a comment that was said. Let me see here. Larry Miller, is Steven Fishbach right about flippers, or is Rob Cisternino the right in this case? I don't know what they're talking about.
We don't have time to listen. No, I mean,
yeah,
I listen to them every week. I find it really interesting because they do a great job, and we often disagree with them. So if they're disagreeing, then I'd love to. I can't wait to listen.
Yeah. Okay. Gamer Girl, who would your loved one be if you were on Survivor? Mine would be my mom or my mentor. That's what she says. We had this discussion, I think, last season too, and I think we've like discussed like we would do it based on strategy. Like I would either bring like my friend or like
Oh,
keep
what?
her
I
mouth
didn't say
shut.
that.
No, I'm saying this. I would bring like my mom because she would be quiet. Like I know if I brought my dad out there, he'd be way too loud. I know if I brought like my one uncle who would be a really fun time out there, he'd be really way too loud.
Oh, I mean,
I might
whoever,
bring like a
whoever,
friend just because they love the
whoever I
show.
put
I think
down,
we talked
I
about
would,
bringing each other.
yeah, whoever I put down, I would brief like fully and tell them this is what you can and cannot do when you visit me. But it would 100% be my sister. We used to watch Survivor together, like, I mean, probably for 10 seasons straight. She was a huge fan. She got lost along the way, which is very sad. She no longer watches. But I think I promised her that when I was like 10 years old. So I can't break that.
Yeah, I mean, I might bring my sister out too. I mean, I have a lot of people that I could bring out. I would seriously like do a
Oh,
pros and
dude.
cons.
Wow.
Yeah, okay, cool, man, cool. Anyway, I would just do like a pros and cons of like who I could trust the most to not be too loud because I have a very family where I could see so many people in my family saying the wrong thing and totally blowing me up. Yeah, definitely will. Definitely who I would bring. Horn. T-Rex Survivor. I see the rest of the season being 4 pairs duking it out. Adam Hanna, Jay Will, David Ken, and Brett Sunday. See, I think it's 2 pairs and a foursome.
I don't trust the foursome, man. I really don't. I don't think David is all in with those guys. I don't. I think he's in with Ken, and then I think him and Hannah. You know, you have to realize David and Hannah didn't meet until the merge. It's not like they've been working together for so long. And you saw how Hannah so quickly flipped on Zeke, who, you know, they had been in an alliance since day one, and she flipped that, you know, a drop of a pen. Like she was gone. And so to think David is going to suddenly be on board with Adam and Hannah, who he's only known for what, 10 days, 15 days. I'm with T-Rex here. Gotta say, I like the pairs more than the foursome and 2 pairs, but I also think Jay and Will are not tight. I think they're both on their own. I do not think Jay and Will after this are gonna like be as tight as they were, especially with Will confessing that he was not swayed and saying, look, I went after this move on my own. And maybe Jay respects that. We'll say, dude, I respect it. So that could happen. But I do lean more towards T-Rex than you in this argument.
That's fine. Giovanni, the previously on Survivor, really snubbed Chris. I bet he was mad about that. Yeah, we didn't even hear his name brought up. Giovanni, again, was Zeke a good villain? I thought so.
Yeah, he was fun villain. And I wouldn't say he's like a big villainous guy, but yeah, for this season, I guess he was a villain. We're sitting with 8 people left. Who is the villain now? I don't even think we have one.
We don't have one.
Maybe Will, you know? Maybe Will's going to get power hungry and play too hard.
He'll pull like the Natalie Bolton where he doesn't do that much all season and then all of a sudden just becomes vicious.
Just starts like just taking names.
Just starts flossing teeth. Joe Brochacho, Will looked upset when Adam pulled out his idol. I think he's pissed Adam stole his thunder. I think 100% he's pissed that Adam stole his thunder.
And like, dude, you didn't trust me. Like I told you I was voting, you know, I was writing Zeke's name down. He probably wanted to go to that alliance and be the final 5 with them, you know? That's probably what he wanted. And it's like Adam, now that we're in an alliance together and he sees Adam pull it out, it's like, dude, you're wasting that right in front of his eyes. There's so many reasons for Will not to like that move.
Yeah. Shay ×5, what do you think about Will's big move being overshadowed by Adam's idol play? Pretty much covered that. I mean, it sucks for Will.
He cannot catch a break. He can't.
He can't. I mean, they could play. Yeah, they got to play the Charlie Brown music every time Will does something wrong. I mean, it's crazy how often this is happening. Nintendoshi, what are your thoughts on Sunday's resume so far? And do you believe we may get a final 2 for the finale? Definitely not a final 2. They're going to have trouble even getting this down to a final 3. I don't think Sunday really has a resume. Make moves, and she falls into the same category as Will. She just hasn't been able to.
Yeah, we talk about this a lot. Like in Sunday's head, she knows every single thing she did to get to where she is. It probably has good reasoning for it. But compared to the other people out there who have just kind of dominated this game, she's got no shot. I don't see who can Sunday win against in a final 3, because it is going to be a final 3.
She can't win against anybody in a final 3.
Brett, Sunday, and Will. Who wins?
Well, if Will gets there, he's probably going to have to play a hell of a game, and I think Will would win.
Right.
Can you hear that coming through? My roommate just turned on the vent, and it's very loud. Can you hear it?
I heard something. I thought that was in here, though.
Nope, that's me. Okay, I'm going to get up and turn that off because it's very loud.
Well, I don't hear it anymore.
Okay. I mean, hang on. I gotta go to the where's our recap episode so I can look at the live chat. Which, by the way, we're not reading those live chat comments. I say this every week. Still not reading them. If you want to do it, it's on our last video, our predictions. But if you can hear this, I'm looking at it now. So tell me if you can hear that. If not, we're moving on anyway. Joe Brochacho, winner ranked J. Adam David, Goats, Hannah, Will, no chance Sunday, unsure where Ken lands, love Brett, but he's not winning. I don't think Hannah's a GOAT. I think we've seen a lot from Hannah. I don't think she's a GOAT.
Yeah, I don't think Hannah's a GOAT. I think the GOAT is Ken. I don't think anyone respects Ken's gameplay, as likable as he may be. He's going to be, and he will be respected as an audience member. He might even win fan favorite, though that will probably go to David. And I think Ken is someone who's going to sit at Final Tribal Council and lose. He will be a finalist that's why we've gotten so much emotion from him. He is an endgame player, but he will lose. He will not get the votes.
You really think he's an endgame player?
I think Ken is sitting at Final Tribal Council, and he loses.
I honestly believe, and I know we're supposed to save this for the predictions, I think next week's Adam, 7th is Ken, and then I think David and Hannah somehow find a way to weasel their way around, and then you see Sunday Brett and Will kind of go back to back to back, and your final three might be Hannah, David, and Jay. Or one of them gets left out, and you get like a Jay, Sunday, David.
You can't have Hannah.
You won't get all three of them, but I think you're going to get two of those three.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably at this point, it's going to be Hannah and Ken in the finals.
I'm not hearing anything you're saying.
Okay, can you hear me now? Any internet coming through?
Here we go. Okay, there's Will. What's up, man?
It's going to be Ken and David. Or no, Ken and Hannah in the finals, and then it will either be David there or Jay there, and David or Jay, whoever's there, will win. That's my prediction.
Do you think Ken and Hannah are both making it there? I don't think Ken and Hannah are both making it there. I don't think that side just won out. I really don't. And I know that they have the more prominent players in David, Hannah, Adam, and Ken. And then the other side really only has Jay. That other side is not done yet.
What makes you think that? The whole story pre-merge focused on David and Ken, and then Hannah kind of has really come on as a strong character who's gotten good observations since she pointed out that Brett was a cop, and she's gotten the vote right twice in a row saying it was going to be her. Brett and Sunday that whole Gen X tribe was very underrated, especially that part of the Gen X tribe. So I think it's going to be the lone wolf Jay that is going to find his way to weasel it in and win, and it'll be sitting next to Hannah and Ken. If not, Jay goes out 4th place. David is there in the final 3 and wins.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how this goes down. I don't know. I just feel like that other side just isn't done. They still have an idol on that side and everything. So I'm not completely convinced that
Jay's not like. There's no. I don't count Jay as like.
But Jay can play the idol for himself next week.
Right, he can.
Frustrating me because I'm getting so many bits and pieces of what you're saying.
Oh,
but
I'm so sorry.
I hope
I'm not coming through so poorly to everybody else. I hope I'm coming through poorly just to you, Phil, because I'm spewing out wisdom here, man. I think you got to think at this point that the deep game players are going to be Ken and David and Hannah, as opposed to Brett and Sunday and Will. I mean, it's who we see.
Yeah, and what happened in Worlds Apart, Will?
Hey, Worlds Apart, nobody got anything except for Mike. So it's not like you had
That's
one
a lie.
side.
The no callers and Shireen got a lie. And everybody thought it was going to be the story of the underdogs overtaking the blue collars, and all of them went boom, 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 boom.
But they were all gone by Final 8. We're at Final 8 now. We're pretty deep. So you got to look at the people who have gotten their story told, and Ken for sure is going to be in Final Tribal Council. I'd put fantasy points on it right now.
No, I don't want to put fantasy points. You're already going to lose 5 when David wins the game.
Hey, whatever. If Jay wins, I don't care if I lose fantasy. It will become literally my favorite season if Jay pulls this out.
That's that. Okay, let's not get carried away. That's like me saying Co Ron was the best ever because I had the best winner.
Well, there's the episodes, and then that's how you feel throughout the whole season. It's like a lot goes into how you feel about a season. It's about where you are, what your attitude is. So
it's great. I'm reading the comments on our live video, and people are saying that they're hearing us both. So maybe like the two of us we're just not meant to talk to each other. Like I don't know what's going on. We'll just keep trying to figure out what each other's saying. I don't know what's going on. I'm getting so much of just like
you are making this up because I keep saying things that I'm proving you wrong, and you're like, "Oh, sorry, I can't respond to your perfect argument because your internet sucks." And now you're doing a freeze face so that I think the internet's
just heard from you. Here's what I just heard from you. You're making this argument. That's it. That's all I heard. You're making this argument. So we'll figure it out. Anyway, we're going over to YouTube. Damn, this is annoying. Dennis O'Connell. What's your favorite loved one visit? Mine has to be Shane and his son, Boston. I'm going to cheat real quick, and then I'll let Will go, but I'm going to cheat real quick. I don't think it was a visit, but my favorite one is, other than Johnny Fairplay, because that's cheating, I'm going Roger in Amazon not too long ago, and man, did that one make me cry like a little baby. She doesn't actually come out and visit, but
well, at this point, I think we can all assume that this is Phil's internet. It's Phil's problem. Phil is not coming through to me. He's probably talking over me right now. I don't know what you can hear. I don't know if you can hear me at all. Phil, are you there? Okay. It looks like either I'm lost or Phil's lost. So I could be talking to myself right now and not even know it. This could be kind of comical that I'm just in my apartment talking to nobody. But I'll assume that I'm still there. Well, I guess Phil is now gone. So I guess you can hear me. Okay, so Phil is now left. Favorite loved one visit? Man, I forget Cerie's husband name. He was so much fun. He was like, he was.
Dude, my whole.
Yeah. You're done. You've been blaming this on me the entire time.
Dude, my whole Chrome just shut down.
Yeah, I think these internet problems are coming from you. This is what Phil does. He'll blame it on me. And my internet's fine. And the fact that I can hear both of us fine and only you are getting problems and that the listeners can hear both of us fine, I think that isolates the variable, and it's Phil's internet. So we're going to have to address this problem. But I was going to say, Cerie's husband coming out, I think that was in Panama the first time. I think he came out again, too, in Micronesia. He's great. Like, he was so proud of Cerie that first time, and the way he looked around at like nature and everything was just awesome. So I'd probably go him. And again, I don't remember every single one. There are probably ones that are so much more emotional, so much better. But for now, that's my answer.
Yeah. Thanks for sticking with us through whatever's going on. It could be me. It could be – I don't know. I know I just completely cut out. But before that, I have no idea. It was just bad. I mean, I'm working on a computer that's not mine. I have no idea what's going on here. Anyway, hopefully you can hear me. I'll keep reading comments.
Yeah, let's do it. We're good. We're back.
Yeah. Dennis O'Connell, loved the way Chris went out. He did this thing with Zeke and went out no bitter or pissed off. He was my favorite player this season. I hope to see him again.
So when Zeke turned around, that was so weird. He did it so like he was a robot. He was like, "Thank you for playing. You are all warriors." It was very un-Zeke-like. I thought he would do something more. Obviously, he was devastated, but it was really kind of odd, I thought, that his remarks to the tribe.
It was weird, but I think it was just more of his way of saying, like, good game.
Yeah, no, I believe him and everything. It was just like, the way it sounded and the way he looked, it's kind of weird.
Yeah. GZG abuse. Okay, we're not going to read that anyway. I mean, we kind of know, but whatever. Boosh Bear, how much does Will's cockiness and arrogance make you guys want to kill yourself? I actually didn't mind that. I thought it was kind of funny. It's like he's just trying to gain some momentum, traction.
Honestly, at first I was like, man, he's got to tone it down. But then the things he was saying about Ken and then having it all kind of go back in Ken's face, it was like maybe Will is onto something here. like maybe Ken could be the sugar of this season, where like the fans love him. He's got this great story. He was bullied as a kid, really emotional, but he might come off as just like really arrogant and pompous and like holier than thou. And Will's only 18 and is seeing this. Imagine what other people are, seeing in it. So it was good to see some like heart from Will, even if it was kind of, a little bit nasty towards Ken.
Yeah. Gregory Fuller, MP Adam, he played his idol correctly and got Zeke out. Plus, he got Jay's respect, and they might work together in the future. LVP Ken for having the vote secured before going to the other side and telling them that Will said they were voting him. And then he says, do you guys think that Adam giving Jay the advantage is a sign they might work together soon? I don't. I honestly think this takes a target off of Adam, and it also could get him some goodwill, but I think Jay sees through it. I mean, I don't think Jay wanted it.
Yeah, I mean, the only way Adam and Jay are going to work together, I don't think this advantage would swing it either way. It's about having a mutual enemy. And if you have a mutual enemy, it doesn't really matter what happened in the past. We see this on Survivor all the time. If you need votes and there's someone in your way and you agree, like, hey, we both want to get this person out, let's work together. There's no point in holding grudges and being bitter. And I think, if anything, this advantage proves that both of them aren't. They're not holding this against each other. But until there's, a opportunity for both of them to take out a mutual threat, then that won't happen. Hopefully, like I said, hopefully it will be David. That'd be fun to see. Even if David comes out on top, it'd be fun to see those guys go head to head.
It would. I agree. That's why I liked the last episode, because Zeke versus David was so much fun. Gamer Girl, now there's only one idol left. Do you think that another idol will be hidden, or you think it's too late in the game to hide one? We already kind of covered that. The Real Negro, no idea why Will is crying about getting no respect for moves. I'd like to see what move he made by himself. I think he's getting set up to be voted out next. And I don't blame Ken for not trusting Will. I do the same and call him out. The little girl still voted Zeke.
Yeah, I mean, from Will's perspective, it's like we've only been shown such like small amounts of the total show, the total story. So like maybe Will had long conversations about who they're targeting or splitting votes, or I mean, when you have a 9-person alliance, or I guess he wasn't in that, but when you have all these alliances moving, there's a lot of stuff that probably goes on behind the scenes, and we just don't see Will. And it does appear on the island that like no one's really taking him seriously, and it probably has a lot to do with his age. I don't at all think Will is incapable because he's 18 years old. Obviously, he doesn't have that much experience, but to say he can't handle Survivor because he's 18, I don't think that would be wise. So I see where Will's coming from. I don't think he handled it in the best way, but I kind of see where he's coming from. I'm not going to call him a baby because he all of a sudden wants to make a resume. I'm just going to call that a bad game move for announcing that to the entire jury. We there, Phil?
Yeah. Okay. The Real Negro is still shocked no one has put Jay's name out there. Everyone knows he has an idol and can win immunities. I would have voted for him tonight without a doubt because he's not expecting it. God, I wish I was on Survivor.
There you go. And if you were, he'd probably charm your socks off and convince you Zeke's a bigger threat. And that's why he's going to win the game.
Costa, first off, chief plug. I'm getting my YouTube channel off the ground. So if anybody would like, please join me this Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern, for a live Q&A chat with me. That said, will you guys ever do a Q&A session about yourselves? There's a lot about both of you. I'm sure everyone would want to know about, such as how you guys met, Sony or Microsoft, or even if you will ever be Boosh Bear's dad.
Maybe we will do a Q&A sometime. And we like to keep it pretty much strictly to Survivor. But at some point, if there's not enough going on in the Survivor world, then maybe. All right, Phil, how are we doing? We might not get to all these comments because I know Phil is on borrowed time with his laptop issues and internet. We don't know what's going on. We are kind of hoping to
end this. I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, we got to kind of put this thing to bed. We have been going for a while here. If we didn't get to your comment, I apologize. We apologize. We will for surely get to it on the predictions episode on Sunday, which hopefully will be fully up with internet. Did we hear from Gamer Girl tonight? I think this might be the first time we haven't heard from her. So if there's any comments later from Gamer Girl, I gotta give her a shout out, of course. But yeah, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to the channel, or else you won't know when we do our predictions episode. We don't really have a standard time. Sometimes we do it on Saturday, sometimes on Sunday, just a random time on the weekend when Phil and I feel like it and have the time. So definitely subscribe if you haven't. Like the video if you would. That helps us out. And Phil, if you're even listening, if you're even there, do you have anything else? Look at this. I'm getting a call from Phil right now. What's that?
My thing says there's no internet connection. I'm completely connected to the internet. It just kicked me off. I need to get a new computer.
So we have Phil here. The first live caller ever into the podcast is Phil. But that will end the podcast on a first time in Phil and Will history. So we'll leave it with that.